Good morning, everyone. Today is a beautiful Sunday in Jacksonville, Florida. Temperature is about close to 70 degree, 68, 66. It is very nice. And in this video, we're gonna discuss the subject of Marxism, which we're gonna step away from Hitler and the fascism. And we will get back to that subject, but for now, we're gonna discuss Marxism and the infrastructure of Marxism and how it compares to capitalistic society. Now, we are allowed about 10 minutes in TikTok, but we're going to do our best. The subject almost 3-4 days. I mean, at least to say the minimum. But we're going to do whatever we can do in 10 minutes. So I'm going to leave the subject to Tristan to go ahead and take over.
All right, thank you. So to understand Marxism, first you have to understand the dialectic. And basically the dialectic is one of Hegel's principles of logic, and Marx got this from Hegel. So basically the dialectic goes the antithesis plus the thesis results in a synthesis, and that synthesis is kind of the compromise between the thesis and the antithesis, and that is what leads to the progression of society. Now, Hegel was an idealist, but Marx was a materialist. So basically, he kind of inversed Hegel, and he brought the dialectic into the material world, and this is what we call dialectical materialism. So basically, Marx thinks that two material forces that are opposed to each other, they meet and they clash, they come together, and they result in a synthesis, and that is what drives humanity forward. And for Marx, the main thesis and antithesis of history would be class and the different class structures and the different classes that have different goals and opposing goals. So for Marx, pretty much all of the societal progression of human history can be boiled down to two different classes sparring against each other and the result of this sparring. So let's say like post-agricultural revolution, you have slave society. So to explain this, let's use the example of the master and the slave. The master has the goal of keeping the slave enslaved, and the slave has the goal of becoming free, generally. So the goals of the master and the slave, they are opposed to each other and they collide, and they result in a progression of history. So after, slave revolts, and the interests of these different classes colliding together, we got a progression into feudalism. And then after the interests of in feudalism, and after the interests of the nobility and, for example, the serfs collide, we got capitalism. And now in Marx's view, we're going to get socialism from capitalism because of the collision of the interests of the bourgeoisie, which is the class that owns the means of production, and I'll get into what that means later, and the proletariats, the class
the oligarch.
Yeah, essentially. And the working class, or the proletariats, which the bourgeoisie, in Marx's view, profits off of the proletariat's labor. And this collision of interest will result in socialism, which is the point in history where the proletariats take control of the means of production. And the means of production would be like the tools that you use to produce a product that is sold on the market. So let's say like hammers or something, or yarn to make a coat. That would be like the means of production, for example. So socialism is when the proletariat take control of the means of production, and a slow process of decommodification takes place, a slow gradual process. And the proletariat takes control of the state as well. And the state, to Marx defines the state as the government, a government that is solely concerned with class. So it's one class governing over another. That is basically what the state is.
So you want to abolish the state system.
Yeah, essentially, because in socialism, in Marx's view, the proletariat owning the means of production, that will lead to the slow and gradual abolition of the bourgeoisie as a class, and that happens because of the decommodification. So as things are like slowly decommodifying, commodities, they start to cease to exist, and therefore the bourgeoisie as a class can no longer exist because the bourgeoisie owns the commodities. So if no one can own the commodities, and the commodities are held in common ownership, then the bourgeoisie as a class cannot exist, and pretty much everyone becomes part of the class of proletarians. So after only one class exists, after the bourgeoisie is abolished, in Marx's view, only one class exists. So that means that when one class exists, the state can no longer exist because, as I said, the state is like one class governing over another. When there's only one class, that one class can't govern over the non-existent class, right? So the state pretty much ceases to exist. And the next tenet of Marxism and the gradual establishment of socialism would be like the abolition of money. Now, money to Marx doesn't mean all currency in general. Money just means like a generalized system of currency. So many Marxists advocate for the abolition of money and the establishment of something called labor vouchers. And that's basically money that is specified to, what kind of labor you commit yourself to. So let's say, for example, you're a plumber, then you get money that is...
you get a voucher for your service.
Yeah, you basically get a voucher for your service. So
instead
you
of financial reward.
Yeah, so you get like specialized money that you can use to trade. So like, let's say you're a plumber, then you get specialized plumber money for being the plumber. Right. And that money has a certain value based on the work that you commit yourself to. And this final stage where the state is abolished and money is abolished would be the stage of human history called communism. So basically, communism, in Marx's view, is the final stage of human history after socialism and capitalism.
Okay, I think that's 10 minutes. Again, like I suggested earlier, that it does take 2-3 days at least to really go through the subject thoroughly. But we just go by the policies of TikTok, which is 10 minutes, so that's what it is. We may continue in the following videos on this subject. We may interrupt it and go to other subject, but we'll be in touch. And thank you for the big support that I've seen, that we have a lot of followers. And I gotta mention something else, that we do this for fun and for intellectual exchange data. We don't really get financial reward from social media. So thank you for watching, and keep liking and supporting and following. Thank you.